Review the concepts. Chapter 4. Explain the difference between beta hat sub 1 and beta 1, between the residual u hat sub 1 and the regression error u sub I, and between the ordinary least squares predicted value big Y hat sub I and the expected value of big Y sub I given big X sub I. Answer 4.1. Beta sub 1 is the value of the slope in the population regression. This value is unknown. Beta hat sub 1, an estimator, gives a formula for estimating the unknown value of beta sub 1 from a sample. Similarly, u sub I is the value of the regression error for the ith observation. U sub I is the difference between big Y sub I and the population regression line beta sub naught plus beta sub 1 big X sub I. Because the values of beta sub naught and beta sub 1 are unknown, the value of u sub I is unknown. That is, u sub I cannot be constructed from big Y sub I and big X sub I because beta sub naught and beta sub 1 are unknown. In contrast, u hat sub I is the difference between big Y sub I and beta hat sub naught plus beta hat sub 1 big X sub I. Thus, u hat sub I is an estimator of u sub I. Finally, big E of big Y given big X equals beta sub naught plus beta sub 1 big X is unknown because the values of beta sub naught and beta sub 1 are unknown. An estimator for this is the ordinary least squares predicted value big Y hat sub I equals beta hat sub naught plus beta hat sub 1 big X. Review the concepts 4.2. For each least squares assumption, provide an example in which the assumption is valid, and then provide an example in which the assumption fails. Answer 4.2. There are many examples. Here is one for each assumption. If the value of big X is assigned in a randomized controlled experiment, then number 1 is satisfied for the class size regression. If big X equals class size is correlated with other factors that affect test scores, then U and big X are correlated and one is violated. If entities, for example, workers or schools, are randomly selected from the population, then number 2 is satisfied. For the class size regression, if only rural schools are included in the sample while the population of interest is all schools, then number 2 is violated. If U is normally distributed, then number 3 is satisfied. For the class size regression, if some test scores are misreported as 100,000 out of a possible 1,000, then large outliers are possible, and number 3 is violated.